Hi everyone, I'm on my way home from work at the minute, just sitting at the traffic lights. My plan is when I get back, I'm going to get changed, and while the engine is nice and warm, we'll drop the oil out of George and change that filter. So I'll catch you in a bit when I get back to mine. Audio guys, so we're back at mine. Going to get this oil dropped out of George, but while I'm here I'll just show you what I've been doing with the bike. As you know, I took this for my first ride out the other day. Had a little problem with it not restarting. One, there was nothing, so I've checked the tightness of my battery terminals. They weren't really loose, but they weren't that tight, so I've tightened those up. I'm going to be tightening up onto the starter, clean that up and tighten that up. I've also disconnected this battery tender, so it's connected to me little charger, which is quite good really. I used to leave that on all the time on my other bike, so once I get fully charged that'll switch off, and then if it drops below a certain voltage it'll kick in again. So that's handy. So that's what I've been doing. Why there's no seat or anything on the bike. Definitely going to go out on this again, brilliant fun. But the job in hand now is to drop the oil out of George. So find a container, find a couple of spanners, and we'll get on with that. Pop the bonnet up. Just looked inside, because obviously I'm going to need to remove this filter housing, because the filter is actually inside here on this engine. This is the 948cc engine, and what I've noticed, if you can see on that tray right at the bottom there on the floor, there's already a drop of oil. Now what I'm thinking, let's have a quick look. There it is there, look. But look where it is. That is more or less underneath the drain bolt. So I've got a feeling we've got a little bit of a leak going on there. So we'll have a look at that as well. Maybe it's not tight. And what I can see from here, looks like it's got a big washer on there. That should just be a copper washer. And that looks quite thick, so maybe it's not the right one, but we'll find out shortly. I'll give it a clean up and we'll have a look. Rightio, I decided to stick George up on the ramps. Don't really need to do this job. There is enough room to get to what we need to, but I thought that'd be easier so we can all have a look at what's going on under here. Let's chuck this cloth out. Right, let's have a look at what's going on. Rightio, you can see it's quite wet here. There's a little bit of an indentation there, whether it's been whacked. But I've got a good feeling that it's not just the normal little seep at the back or the front. There's a build up here, and I've got a feeling we've got a slight leak there. I have seen these before where they are leaking, where they're rusted and coming through, but I don't think that's going to be the case with this one. I'm going to give that a clean up now before we do anything, and just see if we can see what's going on. Right, let me get something to give it a clean with. Hello guys, so I'll give it a bit of a clean. The old brake cleaners come in handy again. Things like this is brilliant. Yeah, we can have a look at it now. I ain't cleaned back on the gearbox or anything. I'm just concentrating here for the minute. It's got a few little dings in it, which is normal, but there's nothing actually through. I have tried to clean this. This will be where the oil filter's inside, but I'm not touching that for the minute. There is a bit of oil up there, so maybe I might get half a turn on those sump bolts up there. Like I said before about the oil in this car, the oil level would be probably here. The top of the dipstick's probably here somewhere. So It's not a great amount, but it's closer to the back on the end of the engine there. So by keeping it not below the empty line, it won't be empty anyway, there'll always be some oil below that mark, but keep it towards the lower mark helps this losing oil. People might have different opinions, but I've owned this car for quite a long time, and I know that keeping it towards the end of the mark and with Phoebe helped with losing any oil, and other people have said the same. So I'm just going to leave this now just for a few minutes, just to see if anything appears here or not. It may just be from up the back there, and I sat there for a while. It may even force out a bit when I'm actually driving it. Slowly runs down, and then when you stop you get a couple of drips. There's nothing like pouring out, which is all good. I ain't going to wait too long because I want to get on with this. So I'm going to have a cup of tea, find up my spanners, and then I'll have another look here just to see whether anything's appeared on that sump drain bolt. Well, that's the tea gone. Let's have a quick look and see if anything has happened here. I found up a spanner. I think that one's an 18. Not sure what exact size it should be, but I'm pretty sure an 18 will fit. Nope. What's the other side of this? 19? That's a little bit thin. I'll have a look and see if I've got an Imperial spanner that'll fit better than this, but it might have to be this 18. But there's no oil appeared here, so that's all good. There's definitely a crease there though, isn't there? Look, right on that edge, but no oil, so that's all good. Let me see if I can find the correct spanner. Spanners, some IFs and stuff in here. What's this one? 3/4, 7/8, another 3/4. I think that might be a 3/4, you know. Let's try this one. That looks like the longest one, apart from the 7/8. For that look too big. Let's try that 3/4 on there. That's a better fit, look. Right, so I'm going to say that nut is a 3/4. Let's see if we can get it undone. Feels tight. Wow, that is super tight. There's no need for that to be that tight. Oh dear. I might have a socket with an extension bar I can put on there, with a breaker bar or something to do it. If not, I might have to tap it. Let me just see what I've got and push that with my foot from under the car. There it goes. That went. Got a nice little bowl here to drain the oil. At least it's not too windy today, because when it's windy the oil ends up everywhere. Here it comes. I'll see if I can find a spanner to fit this. Socket would be better. Looking at that, that probably is a 1/2 inch. Let's go get a spanner, find out. I need to sort out my sockets and spanners because they are all over the place. This one is a 1/2 inch. That's got it. That's not very tight. It shouldn't be that tight, to be honest. Let's flip the oil pan back a bit. Still a few drips coming out of that. Not sure what's going to happen here or what's going to be like. It might be stuck, it might fall off, you just don't know. don't look like there's a washer on here. I'm sure there should be a copper washer. There's the bolt. That's it. Move up a little bit. Can be a messy old job. Just let that drain out of that filter housing. Now normally when you loosen these bolts the whole canister will come down, but this one seems a little bit stuck for some reason. You never know why. Might just be purely because of the seal around it. Someone may have put some sealant round. Who knows? But like everything else, always seems to take ages when you're waiting on it. So we'll leave that to drain for a bit longer. So there's as much oil in there as there was in the sump. Right, we'll come back to this. Well, as you can see, well I'm hoping you can see, that's still dripping a little bit, but I need to get this removed now. I'm hoping that will just let go. Yeah, it has. So as you can see now, the filter is inside this casing. I'll bring it outside so we can all look at it. I'll just get something else to stand that in, save making too much more of a mess. The sun's coming out. Right, so I've got myself another tray. We'll just stick that in there. As you can see, there's the element. We'll lift that out and check that we've got the right one. So we'll sit that there for a minute. As you can see in the bottom there's a spring which will sit on that. There should be an O-ring there. Maybe it's still up in the top of the canister there. We'll have a look in a minute. Let's have a look in the box if I can find it. Probably can't now. And see what we should have and check us the right one. So we've got another cup of tea, and I found the parcel up I had. Been looking everywhere for this. Can't believe the way I lose things. Well, let's have a look inside. And there it is. And in here is the rings, the sealing rings, what go around the top, and I don't know where the other one goes. I haven't got a clue, but we'll have a little sort out in a minute and see if we can work out what's going on. But there's the new filter to go in. Looks about right, doesn't it? So we'll get that put in. As you can see, this is a messy job, but there's not much I can do about that. So on the old filter there should be a plate on the bottom which will sit on top of the spring inside. There it is. So that will go onto your filter and sit on top of that spring just to keep the oil filter nice and tight at the top. So I'll clean this. Don't need to clean that because that's going in the bin. That is messy. It's much easier nowadays, isn't it? Right, as you can see the spring is in the bottom of that, and there's also some muck in there because it's where that would collect. So what I'm going to do is just clean that out. I won't be filming that because obviously it's just no point. I'll just give it a clean up. I'll give this a clean up. As you can see, it's nice and clean inside. There's the spring what sits in the bottom, and this piece will sit on the bottom of your filter and on top of that spring in the bottom like that, just to keep it pushed up. And I did discover but this was on the bottom of the filter. This sealing ring that bolts up onto here, so apologies for that. I forgot how it went. I thought they had a copper washer, but this is what it has, what seals onto the bottom of the filter. So that's good, but like I've said many times before, there is a rubber seal in there. As I've said many times before, I'm not an expert. I'm not telling you this is what you should do. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. So I'm going to clean these bits up. We'll get this back together. There is a little sealing ring there. It's a little rubber. It's like an O-ring really. But I wouldn't have anything that size. But that will sit in there, and as it bolts up, we'll seal it. Wasn't leaking before, so I'm not got any reason to think that'll leak when we put it back together. Right, finished cleaning this lot up, and we'll get it back in. Cleaned up the actual bolt, so that means the little seal will go into that washer on the bottom. Slide that down and make sure that's seated in. This will go through the housing. The spring will go on top. Then this spring goes there, sits on top of the spring, and then your filter sits on top of that housing, and that'll all bolt up. As you can see, it's spring loaded, so that'll push to the top and seal. Now these rings, one of these will sit on the top. I don't know what it is to. Maybe it's a spare. Mind you, that one looks thicker, so I'm not sure. But I'm going to have a look underneath now and see if I can find out what is up inside the housing. So we'll put this to the side. We'll get up and look underneath there. If we can see, there should be a seal in that top plate there. So we'll have a little clean up and check what's up there. Inside that housing was this ring. I pulled it out. There didn't look nothing wrong with it, but I've popped in a new one the same. So now I've just started the thread off. As you can see, it's like sprung loaded. Need to do this bolt up, tighten it up, and hopefully, fingers crossed, that should seal. And that's that job done. Right, just need to wheel that nut back in, or just need to wheel that bolt back in. So the filter's tightened up and the sump plug's back in. It did have a copper washer on. You should actually put a new one on. I haven't got anything about that size, so I've opted to just put it back on. I'll keep an eye on it. If it does seep from there, then I will just have to drain the oil and put a new washer on. But we will see how we go. At least on now it's got new oil, new filter. And while we're under here, I'll just point out on this car, if you look on the bottom of here, that there is your actual timing marks. So it's a bit awkward when you're trying to use a timing light on these cars, because you have to do it from the bottom. What I tend to do if I want to do anything like that is to get it lined up to top dead center on that timer mark, and then mark it at the top. Just put a little notch in it with a chisel or something, or just mark it with a bit of paint really, and then if you want to use the timing light you can. I've got no reason to think there's anything wrong with the timing, although it could be slightly out, who knows, but it seems to be running okay, so I'm not going to even worry about that at this point, maybe later. Right, so like I said, the sump plug's back in, the oil filter's done up, so it just leaves to put some oil back in it. My favourite job, yeah right, is putting the old oil into my can. Rightio, I've got some of it in there. Right, it's no good filling the car up with oil with it up on the ramps. You need to get it on level ground to get a good accurate reading of how much oil you've got in it. My drive is slight slant, but the engine is tilting back. If I get it roughly, I'll be able to keep an eye and don't forget, I'm not filling it up to any marks. I'm going to keep it towards the lower Right, here's the oil we got. Just cheap old oil, 2050 classic car oils, what we used to have in your cars years ago. It's the mineral oil. We'll chuck some in, we'll fire him up, let it run for a little while, then we'll check the oil level again, because unlike some cars where you can fill the filter first and then put it on, the filter on this will be empty. So we'll have to run it to fill that up, so that will drop a little bit. And then we'll check the oil again, and we'll just keep an eye on the oil level. Right, let's get this in. How much oil do you think we're going to need? I reckon probably 3.5 litres or more. Now, you notice how they rip us off now. Used to get 5 litres of oil. There's only 4 in here. Should be plenty enough for this car. 1, 2, 3. So I'll put in 3 litres, probably just over, I reckon, a tiny bit over. Maybe I'd say 3 litres gone to that mark. It's going to need a bit more, we know. But let's just have a little check where that is now on the dipstick. Give that a wipe. Just above the bottom mark, don't know if you can see it. It's going to drop when it starts. The oil is still running down. You can see it all on top of the engine inside. The cap back on. We'll have a quick look underneath before we do anything, that nothing's dripping. Can't see anything from the filter or from the bottom. It's all good. Let's fire George up. Shit on. We'll give him a little bit of choke because he's obviously cooled down. Let's go around the front and have a look. Wow! We all know you don't notice much difference when you stick oil in your car. You don't suddenly say, wow, it's so much better, it's going to go any better or anything. It's just peace of mind that you know it's been done. Can't see any leaks from around the top of the filter where the seal is. We'll have a look underneath now. Where's my light? There it is. Well, I should have cleared some of this stuff up out of the way, shouldn't I? Can't see anything leaking from the bottom. Nothing from the filter, nothing coming from the sump or the sump fill, or sump drain I should say. By now, obviously, within the first few seconds, it should have filled the filter up. Pop that choke off. I did turn this down the other day because it was really warm and George was revving over like crazy. Now this might be me, but I think it sounds better. Definitely not as rattly. It's all good. Like I say, I don't know how old the oil was in it. It might have been in there a short period of time, or it might have been from when I changed the oil last time. Who knows? You never know what anyone else has done. That's why I like to do it. I wanted to get this job done. Just peace of mind. Right, so that's the oil change. I'll switch it off now. Give it a few minutes to run down. I'll drink my tea and then we'll check the oil level. Let's have a little check where it is on the stick. Can you see that's just below now the bottom line, because it's obviously filled the filter up. So we'll put a little bit more in just to bring that up. It's not going to want a lot, probably half a litre, something like that. Because remember, I want to keep that a little low, really. Not under the line, but just a little bit low. Just give that a couple of seconds. It's not that warmish. Been stopped for a while. Right, let's give that a check. Give it another wipe. Just bang on that bottom line, and that is where I'm going to leave it. Time the rest of that run down. I'll check it again before I go anywhere, but I want it just slightly above that line, which I think that's going to end up time that run down. While I'm sitting here waiting for that, I'm going to take off this breather pipe and just check it's not blocked, because that will help. Once you've got your cap on, you get pressure here. It should come up out of here, blow any fumes from the oil vapours should come up here, get sucked in past the air filter into the engine and burn. But if this is blocked, then that could help force oil out of the back of the engine. I don't think it is, but it don't cost me nothing to check out, so I'm going to whip that off now. Just 2 screws. This off. As you can see, it's clear. No blockages there, so that's good. The other thing to check is just in here is not blocked. I'll just stick something small through there and just check how it goes through, and if that's good, obviously that's not blocked, everything's good. I've just been fiddling with the bike with the battery terminals and stuff, but that'll be on my other channel. Back to George. Let's get my phone. We're just going to take him for a quick test drive. I've just checked the oil again. It's just over the bottom of the mark, which I'm happy with. So we'll get him fired up. We'll just go for a little spin round the block, eh? Why not? Pull my tray out so I don't run over it. Right, we're going to the other camera now. Rightio, so just fired George up for a test drive. Just go a little bit round the block really. That, I ain't going to do it now, there it goes. That noise there, it's actually the exhaust rattling against the bottom of the car. I had that problem before. So it only does it when it's ticking over really slowly when you first start it. Right, here we go. Mrs. has put her car behind us, so I've got to do quite a sharp turn to get out of here. Like I say, we didn't need to go far. I could say, yeah man, oh it's 10 times better, look at it go. But I ain't going to feel any difference. Just like to always do a little test drive when I do anything. Like I say, just any screw, whether it be on the radio, good excuse for a test drive. just go around this little block, make sure everything's alright. I will stop in a minute just to check there's no oil leaking. Now George has not got an oil light, you may have noticed. It's just not connected anywhere. In the box of bits and bobs the guy gave me with his car, there is actually an oil pressure gauge, there's a voltmeter or amp meter, voltmeter I think, water temperature gauge. Obviously he had intentions of fitting them all in, so when I get a chance I might connect one or all of those up. But that'll be when I fill this in a bit. We'll put them under here or something. There again, ain't going to make George any better, just for a look. Still need to sort out this gear knob. But even that is not going to affect the car, how it drives or anything. Right, let's get round this way. Somewhere to stop now, not far from my house anyway, but somewhere nice and level. Not this road, it's a bit busy. I know I don't look at that, is they come around this corner so make it hard. Yeah, we'll just pop around this corner here. Back over here, little sprit weave here, so if we are leaking that'll do it good, won't it? Right, cool. Fire up the other camera. Right, let's go outside and have a look. You're going to see this at the same time as me. Nothing leaking anywhere, nothing on the bottom of the filter, it's not hiding anything on that, not now. That's good, I'm happy with that. Still going to be plenty more work. I need to clean up this side, check I don't need any welding and get some paint on it, get the back up and do the back. Well, it's all a matter of when I get time. And I also want to do some bits and bobs to the body, but that'll all come in the future. Like I say, there's no hurry. Some tidying up inside, of course. Right, so that's it. We'll go back on the other camera now. I just ride back to mine, which isn't far at all, as you know. And that's another job done. And I will say again, I ain't no expert, and I don't pretend to be. I'm just showing you what I'm doing to keep George or Rat Moggy on the road. Just a peace of mind really to change our oil. Not sure yet what the next job's going to be, but there's definitely plenty more to be done, and I'll just do them as and when. Probably going to park him up tomorrow and swap places with Bertie Bus, because I need to start getting the bus ready because we'll be going camping very soon. Just make sure everything's alright, so we might go out for a spin in that maybe tomorrow. So with that, I'm going to leave this video here. Say thanks for watching guys, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye for now.